Have you ever paused late at night, long after the world has gone quiet, and wondered why your heart keeps wandering back to certain faces? Not the ones you expect, not the ones who seem perfect on paper, but those who stir something deep inside, something you can't quite name. It's like a gentle pull, soft as a whisper but persistent as the tide, drawing you back again and again. And no matter how much you try to fight it or tell yourself you're making a choice, it feels like you're being led by a force you don't fully understand. Love, they say, is a choice. But what if that's just the story we tell ourselves? What if the heart's compass isn't as free as we believe? What if, hidden beneath the surface of what we call love, lies a blueprint, a secret design etched in the quiet corners of our minds before we even knew what love meant? This blueprint isn't written in books or sung in songs. It's carved out in shadows. The echoes of childhood, the imprints of old wounds, the silent promises we made to ourselves when no one was watching. It's the map of what we needed, what we feared losing, and what we desperately hoped to find again. And this map shapes the paths our hearts take, guiding us through a maze we don't even know we're inside. Maybe love isn't really about choosing. Maybe it's about following a story your mind learned to tell long ago. Before you had words, before you had a voice, a story written in moments you barely remember, but that live on in the rhythm of your breath, in the patterns of your dreams. When you meet someone and your heart leaps, it might not be because they're new, but because they remind you of something ancient, something familiar, not always good, sometimes painful, but always meaningful in ways you can't explain. And this is why love can feel like both a blessing and a curse, a light that warms you and a shadow that haunts you. Most people won't understand this. They'll say love is freedom, choice, and chance. But if you do, if this quiet truth speaks to you, then you're one of the rare ones. This channel is for minds like yours, curious enough to look beneath the surface. Subscribe, and let's go deeper. Let me tell you about a moment I witnessed long ago. A small scene that, at the time, seemed ordinary, but later revealed itself as a piece of a much larger puzzle. There was a man I knew. Let's call him Jack. Jack was a good man, full of warmth and kindness, but he had a way of falling in love that puzzled me. He didn't fall for the charming, the kind, or even the beautiful. At least, not in the way most people do. No. Jack was drawn again and again to a certain kind of woman. Women who reminded me, and maybe him too, of something much older. There was a pattern there. A thread running through every heartbreak, every goodbye, every whispered apology in the dark. It wasn't that Jack chose poorly, or that he didn't want something different. He did. He wanted love that was steady, safe, and kind. But his heart, his mind, kept pulling him back to what was familiar, even if familiar meant pain. You see, this is the hidden pattern most people never see. We don't fall in love with people as much as we fall in love with what they represent in the story of our own lives. It's like our minds carry an invisible blueprint, a map of old wounds, old hopes, old fears. And when we meet someone, the mind quietly checks that map. Does this person fit, it asks? Will they heal the cracks or deepen them? This blueprint is shaped by the earliest moments we lived. The first love we saw, the first trust we gave, the first heartbreak we endured. And it's not always kind. Sometimes it's a tangle of pain and longing, like a vine that grows around the heart and never lets go. I've watched this pattern play out in friends, in strangers, in my own reflection in the mirror. I've seen people I loved fall into this trap again and again, chasing shadows of what they needed but never truly had. They would tell themselves stories. This time it will be different. But their minds knew better. Their hearts followed the blueprint written long before. How we choose to stay or to leave. It's the quiet script running beneath the surface of every choice we make, guiding us like a ghost we can't see, but always feel. This pattern is both a curse and a comfort, a reminder that our deepest longings are not random, but rooted in who we are and who we were. The trick, I've found, is not to fight the pattern blindly, but to learn its shape, to recognize its contours in the stories we live. Because once you see the blueprint, once you understand the hidden pattern, you can begin to write a new story. Now, here's the part few people want to hear. The truth that cuts through the warm glow of romantic dreams and lights up the shadows beneath. The heart, it turns out, doesn't beat for strangers or perfect souls. It beats for ghosts, ghosts we carry with us. Echoes of love we never fully received, of loss we never fully mourned, of wounds that never quite healed. Imagine an old, twisted tree in the middle of a forgotten forest. Its branches reach high, touching the sky with fragile hope. But beneath the surface, its roots are tangled and knotted, wrapped tight around stones and broken things buried deep in the earth. That tree grows strong, yes, but its shape is dictated by what lies beneath. It can't help but follow the path carved out by years of struggle and survival. That's what love is. The way our roots pull us toward familiar soil, no matter how cracked or rough it feels. We don't choose our heart's directions so much as they're shaped by these unseen forces. This hidden blueprint, this map of our earliest loves and losses, lives quietly inside us. It is stitched into the fabric of our being by the hands of time and memory. Sometimes it's a gentle guide, leading us toward healing and growth. But other times, it's a trap, pulling us toward pain disguised as comfort, toward repetition disguised as fate. I learned this the hard way. I watched people I loved walk into the same heartbreaks over and over, chasing shadows of a love they thought they wanted. And I wondered why. Why does the heart choose to return to places that hurt? Why does the mind keep telling the same story, even when we scream for a different ending? It's because our minds are wired to seek patterns, to find meaning even in chaos. The blueprint is survival's work, a way to prepare us for what the world might throw. But sometimes, that wiring traps us in cycles of longing and pain, hope and despair. And here's the darkest part. You might never fully escape this blueprint. It's part of your story, your history, your soul's architecture. But knowing it, seeing it, gives you power. Power not to fight the currents blindly, but to swim with awareness, to recognize the waves and choose when to let them carry you, and when to swim toward calmer waters. Love, in this light, becomes less about falling and more about waking up to the ghosts we carry, to the roots that bind us, and maybe, just maybe, finding the courage to grow new branches. Listen closely, son. In my long years, I've stumbled across many clues, voices from the past that whispered truths I hadn't yet dared to see. Philosophers, poets, psychologists. Their words are like faint footprints on a foggy path, guiding me when I felt lost. One voice that always lingers in my mind is that of Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who spoke of the shadow within us. He said that within each of us lies a hidden self, parts of us we hide, ignore, or deny because they scare us or don't fit the story we want to tell. And love, he suggested, often pulls us toward people who reflect those shadows. It's as if the heart knows more than the mind. Seeking wholeness by reaching into the darkness it fears. There's also the poet Maria Rilke, who wrote about love as something both fierce and tender. A condition of being alone that makes you whole. Rilke reminded us that love isn't about filling emptiness with another's light, but about standing in our own darkness, fully alive. This is a quiet truth most never hear. That love asks us first to meet ourselves, shadows and all, before we can truly meet another. And then there's the writer Bell Hooks, who taught that love is a choice, but not the kind we think. She spoke of love as an action, a practice of courage and care that challenges us to see beyond the surface, beyond desire, to the deeper wounds beneath. She said love demands honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to hold pain without running away. These voices, these clues, have been like lanterns in a dark forest, illuminating pieces of the hidden blueprint I've been talking about. But few people truly understand what they mean. They don't see that love is as much about confronting the shadows within as it is about the joy we crave, or that the ghosts we follow aren't curses, but parts of ourselves needing recognition and healing. These lessons came slowly, through pain and reflection, through watching lives unravel and mend. Listen closely, because this part is where many hearts get tangled in silence, where the mind plays its quiet tricks, and we become prisoners without knowing the bars that hold us. Our minds are remarkable at protecting us. They weave stories, patch wounds, and build walls, sometimes out of love, sometimes out of fear. But often, those stories aren't the whole truth. They're illusions, soft lies we tell ourselves to keep pain at bay. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I don't deserve better," or "This is just how I am," or "It's too late to change"? Those are the whispers of the mind's trap. It's a place where comfort and captivity look almost identical, where the heart's quiet ache gets drowned in the noise of excuses and doubts. Why does the mind do this? Because change is terrifying. Because stepping out of the known, even if it's painful, means facing uncertainty, loneliness, and the raw edges of ourselves we've long avoided. The mind would rather keep us safe in the shadows than risk the unknown light. But here's the paradox. The very safety the mind offers can become a cage. The familiar blueprint that shaped your loves and losses also shapes your fears. The fear of breaking patterns. The fear of seeing yourself without the crutches you've grown used to. Escaping this trap isn't about forcing yourself to feel something new overnight. It's about gentle noticing, like a soft breeze brushing against a window long closed. Start by paying attention to the moments when your heart feels tight, your thoughts race, or you find yourself caught in the same stories. Notice the patterns without judgment. See the blueprint for what it is. Not a sentence, but a map. And in that noticing, there's a spark of freedom, a chance to step back from the script your mind has been reading for years. Here's what I wish someone had told me long ago. Change doesn't come from fighting the blueprint, but from understanding it. My dear child, from learning its language, feeling its pain, and then choosing slowly to write a new story. You don't have to erase the past. It's part of who you are. But you can learn to paint new paths on top of the old. Paths that lead not to shadows, but to light you choose. It's a quiet revolution. One that begins with a single breath, a single moment of truth, and then another. So, if you feel stuck, if love feels like a maze you can't escape, know this. The mind's trap isn't the end. It's an invitation to wake up, to see, and to walk toward a freedom you might have thought impossible. And I'll be here, walking with you,